Hello everyone, welcome to ITLS Academy. This is continuation part of early development, and in this particular lecture we will study about genes, molecules and other signals that are important for early embryogenesis. As we have seen what is embryogenesis, what are the steps of embryogenesis. So let us start today's topic, that will be most of the time for the genes and molecules that are important for this process. Coming to our lectures, genes, molecules and other signals that are important in early embryogenesis. The very first point is this overview of the processes of blastocyst formation. I hope you all know that what is blastocyst, as we have discussed three more lectures for this particular process, how this blastocyst forms. So processes of blastocyst formation. Implantation is the process of attachment of this blastocyst to the uterine wall. And gastrulation is the formation of gastrula, that is formation of three embryonic germ layers: endoderm, ectoderm and mesoderm. And this has ignored most of the crucial signals that direct embryonic development. Next point, these signals include genes, molecular factors, complex molecular signaling systems, specialized membrane junctions, components of the non-cellular environment. This is not cellular. Non-cellular environment is made up of many other things but not of the cells. And also the genomic imprinting. These signals, as well as their origins and effects, are the last understood elements of embryonic development in any organism. So first of all, we will see what is gene transcription, translation and protein synthesis. Although translation and protein synthesis are similar processes, but still we will see differently why it is translation and why it is termed as protein synthesis. Transcription is a process in which formation of an RNA from a copy of DNA occurs. As we know that our DNA is a double-stranded molecule, whenever there is formation of DNA from DNA, this process is known as a replication. When this DNA converts in single-stranded RNA molecule, then this process is known as transcription. And when this single-stranded RNA molecule converts into protein, this structure may be of primary, secondary, tertiary or quaternary type. These four types of protein can exist. So when this protein formed from this RNA, the process for the formation of protein will be known as the translation, or we can term it as protein synthesis. So now we will see in detail that what is transcription and what is translation. The very first point is the processes occurs in three major steps. Three major steps are involved, are transcription, translation and protein synthesis. Apart from this, a central dogma rule, I expect that you all know what is central dogma. let me recall you. This is DNA. When there is formation of a RNA copy, this is the central dogma, that formation of RNA from DNA and then protein from this. Also, formation of DNA from DNA occurs. This is known as a reverse transcription. This is reverse transcription. This is formation of DNA from DNA. This whole process is known as central dogma, that was given by Watson and Crick. So in this central dogma role, we are not going to focus on this replication process. Also we will not see what is reverse transcription, because that is not required in this particular lecture. We will only focus on how this RNA is formed from DNA, that is the process of transcription, and how this protein, as we know that protein is the functional part, so the translation of RNA to protein is must. And this is the process of translation. So let us start. Three steps are gene transcription, translation, and protein synthesis. These are three main steps that we are going to study. Coming to the next point, the process of initiating transcription. We are talking about the initiation of this transcription process. It is very complex. It requires the binding of certain proteins. These proteins are termed as transcription factor. Transcription factors are the factors that will be responsible for the formation of a RNA copy from the double-stranded helical DNA. And these transcription factors bind to the regions of the DNA as they are going to transcribe RNA from this DNA. So this is necessary that they binds to the DNA, and this binding is near the site where transcription begins. This transcription start site is also known as promoter, and these transcription factors bind near to this promoter onto this promoter and further promotes the process of transcription. And this process of transcription will be carried out in the direction that is 5' to 3' direction. A gene that makes an mRNA transcript is active, and this gene is said to be expressed. This is the gene that formed in protein, and this is known as expressed form of the gene. For the process of transcription, there are protein DNA instructions, and protein interactions regulate gene activity. Their interactions then activate or block the process of transcription. These transcription factors are responsible for the process of transcription to be carried out, and also for the termination of this transcription. There are many transcription factors that are known as termination factors in the case of termination. Next point is, proteins typically consist of hundreds of amino acids. As we know that these amino acids are the building block of protein. Many amino acids join by the bond, and this is known as protein. This bond is a phosphopeptide bond, and this peptide bond is responsible for the linking of amino acids. After the linking, many amino acids join together and form the protein. Thus here, the sequence of bases in DNA, bases here means nitrogen bases. Nitrogen bases are of two types, that is purine and pyrimidine. Purine contains two bases, adenine and guanine, while this pyrimidine contains thymine and cytosine. In the case of RNA, this thymine is replaced by the uracil. So we can say that pyrimidine contains three bases, two for the DNA and two for the RNA. This thymine is replaced by the uridine in the case of RNA. So coming back to the point, the bases in DNA determines the sequence of mRNA. If this is our DNA and this contains any sequence like ATGC, this is a sequence that is present in the DNA. So for the process of transcription, these will be transcribed in the form of mRNA. This A will be replaced by thymine as we know, but this thymine will be replaced by the uridine in the case of mRNA. So here will be uridine. Thymine links to adenine. So this will be same. Guanine again will pair with cytosine and this will remain same, CC, and this C will pair with the guanine, that is G. So this will be sequence of the transcribed RNA. UACCG, because T will not be present in this transcribed RNA. So you can see here that the RNA that is formed from this DNA is a totally depend on the sequence of the bases that are present in the DNA. These bases will decide that what kind of mRNA will form and further what protein it will form for the function. So these sequences which then determine the linear sequence of amino acids in a protein. That is all what we have talked, that this DNA will form RNA and further this RNA will form protein, and the structure of this protein will be dependent on the parent DNA that is starting this process of central dogma, that is formation of RNA and further protein. If we talk about our body, the proteins make up most of the structural elements of cells and tissues. All the parts are made up of proteins, and they also function as enzymes. As we know that enzymes are catalysts for the reactions, and these are most of the time these enzymes are proteins. These may also be RNA because exceptions exist everywhere, and here is a exception of these proteinaceous enzyme is RNA, ribozyme. This ribozyme is a RNA. This is not a protein, this is RNA. And this functions as enzyme. So firstly it was thought that enzymes are totally proteins, but now this is clear that some other molecules can also work as catalyst, and here it is the example of RNA molecule that functions as an enzyme. And these enzymes regulate all the body's chemical reactions. So coming to the gene expression and factors in the pre-implantation blastocyst. Pre-implantation blastocyst we have discussed in our previous lecture in very detail. If you have not watched, I recommend you to watch that lecture first. So we are going to see gene expressions that are going to happen in this pre-implantation blastocyst, that is before the implantation into the uterine wall. First point is OCT4. OCT4 is a signaling molecule. It is a transcription factor that has come to be recognized as a prototypical marker of undifferentiated and dividing cells. It is necessary for maintaining the undifferentiated state and proliferation of cells of the inner cell mass and the epiblast. Epiblasts are the cells that are derived from the inner cell mass. Epiblast and hypoblast both are the cells that are derived from the inner cell mass. Next point is OCT4 again is expressed in the mouse oocyte, that is egg of the mouse, and it disappears during the first cleavage of the zygote. I hope you all remember how this zygote divides, the cleavage of zygote. So the first cleavage is zygote, is when this zygote becomes two cells. These two cells will be formed within the zygote. Although their cytoplasm will divide, but the whole area will remain same. So we were talking about this OCT4 that disappears by the first cleavage of the zygote, and it reappears in the 4-cell mouse embryo as the genome of the zygote begins to control embryonic development. OCT4 is a member of class 5 POU, that is class 5 POU. POU for PIC, PIT, OCT and UNC. Let me write here. This is PIT, OCT and UNC. These all are the types of transcription factors that will be present. These are a family of transcription factors which binds to promoter or enhancer sites in DNA. Enhancer sites are the sites that enhance the process of transcription. These enhance the process of transcription by promoting the activity of promoter or many other transcription factors. These proteins regulate gene expression or gene transcription. Next point. The transcription factor OCT4 can activate or repress. Both processes can be performed by this OCT4 gene expression, and it binds to DNA at a distance from start of transcription. If this is our start point, so it will bind the site other than this start point. Hence, depending on the target gene, OCT4 may require the presence of co-activator protein. Co-activator proteins are the proteins that may help in the activation of this OCT4, or may as this is enhancer, so this can be enhanced by the co-activator that can help in the activation of this gene. Here the process of transcription and translation are shown in brief. This is the process of transcription. This is our double-stranded DNA. This site is the melting of DNA. This is known as melting of DNA. Melting is the process of opening of helix. As we want to synthesize RNA, so we need a template of DNA. So for the template, it cannot be generated directly from the double strand. We must have to separate these double strands into single strands. So formation of single strands from the double strand is known as melting. This DNA is extracted from this cell. This cell contains nucleus, and we know that nucleus is the part of a cell that contains our genetic material. So we would have to extract this DNA from the nucleus. After the melting of this DNA molecule, here we get our desired single strand. Here you can see these are nucleosides that are joined. These are nitrogen bases present here. The nitrogen bases that are present on this DNA molecule decides how the mRNA will form, that is how this RNA will form. The process of transcription start here. This is the transcription start site, the process from where the initiation of transcription occurs is known as transcription start site. In this diagram you can see the process of transcription maybe starts from here, and this is going in 5' to 3' direction. As the newly formed DNA is here, guanine is pairing with cytosine, adenine is pairing with thymine. But whenever there is an adenine base, you can see that there is no thymine in the case of RNA. You can easily distinguish this RNA from DNA on the basis of this uridine. The points where is adenine present in the case of DNA, that will be replaced by the uridine in case of RNA. This is double helix unwinding is shown here. This double helix unwinds. These are the codons. These are our nucleotides. The process of transcription is happening inside the nucleus. This boundary is shown here is nucleus. Nucleus contains some nuclear pores. These pores are responsible for transport of many molecules like RNA from inside to outside and many molecules from the outside to inside. So coming to the process of translation, for the translation, this newly formed DNA RNA will come outside the nucleus. Here the process of translation starts. This is our mRNA. Here start of protein synthesis or start of translation occurs. These are nearly completed proteins that are formed after the translation. For the process of translation, there is a requirement of ribosome. Ribosome helps in the joining of amino acids with these nucleotides. The role of ribosome in translation is given in brief. Here you can see. This is our mRNA strand, and the ribosome is joined on this mRNA strand. This mRNA contains these bases, and according to these bases, newly coming amino acids join them. And here you can see the formation of peptide bond. These amino acids will be linked by the peptide bond. And further, when there is termination of translation, when this protein will be synthesized, there will be termination of transcription, and the newly formed protein will be released. This tRNA is a molecule that is responsible for bringing new amino acids for the formation of this peptide bond. This is tRNA that is bringing the new amino acid. Here amino acid binds to growing protein chain, that is peptide chain. This is the whole chain that will be released when this process will be complete. So here is a regulation of body patterning in the embryo. Body patterning is the process of formation of axis. So here you can see this line is dividing this whole body in equal parts. So this will be known as axis, and this axis will be responsible for the patterning of body. That's why this is known as axis formation, and this is a separate process that helps in development of embryo and formation of all things in a proper manner. So first point for the regulation is, as the embryo forms, its overall body pattern is determined by the establishment of three clear axes. Three clear axes are the anterior-posterior axis that will be responsible for the formation of head to tail. The line that is connecting to head to tail, this will be known as anterior posterior axis. Next will be the dorsal ventral axis, that is the axis that will connect back to belly. This will be known as dorsal axis. And the next one is left and right asymmetry. Information about the establishment of these body axes and their role in development is far from complete. For example, the anterior-posterior axis of the mouse blastocyst may be determined before it implants and is certainly established before gastrulation. Next point, an important group of cells that produces molecular signals that help determine the anterior-posterior axis of the mouse embryo is the anterior visceral endoderm. In short, it is known as AVE. The anterior visceral endoderm expresses different genes along its length, coordinating the embryo's decision about its body pattern is a hierarchy of genes. Next point, overall, the Hox gene specify anterior-posterior polarity. These are the Hox gene that forms this polarity. Their normal functions can be subverted by retinoic acid. Retinoic acid is a molecule that inhibits itself in higher concentration. Whenever there is a balanced concentration of retinoic acid will present, it will help in the process of development. So this retinoic acid can activate Hox genes in inappropriate places. A regulation of cell differentiation in early embryogenesis. First point, One of the earliest genes to be involved in cell differentiation in the pre-implantation blastocyst are those that encode the GATA class of transcription factors. Various kinds of these GATA transcription factors are present, in which GATA6 is expressed in some inner cell mass cells of the E3.5 mouse blastocyst. GATA4 is expressed in the E5.5 parietal and visceral endoderm. This E5.5 is the day fifth and half. The day in mouse is written as a form of E. GATA6 expression is required for the formation of the visceral endoderm. It is far easier to monitor the expression of particular genes than it is to identify their functions during development. Next point. One of the most useful kinds of experiments for determining the functions of a gene involves its permanent inactivation, that is, to create a knockout mice. Thank you very much everyone for watching this session.